Breaking news.
Drama! Yes, drama when it comes to Manchester United.
It's all kicking off.
Man United won't break the bank for him. And if Man United won't break the bank for him, they've got other targets.
What's going on, guys? Good morning. Welcome back to United View. Hope everyone is doing very well. And Benjamin Sesko. I could do the really low, but
Benjamin Sesko.
yes. Could Manchester United still be in the race for the RB Leipzig striker? Well, it's looking like Newcastle potentially losing Alexander Isak means that they've already agreed possible personal terms with the striker, and he could be on his way to St. James's Park. But Manchester United, you can't rule us out. You can't rule us out of the race for him. According to reports, Sesko is actually interested in a move to Old Trafford this summer, despite us having no European football. And possibly, could he be the striker that Manchester United signs this summer? We've already signed Matheus Cunha. We've already signed Bryan Mbeumo. 2/3 of that three-pronged attack are completed, are done. But is Benjamin Sesko the final piece of the puzzle? Or is it likely that he ends up going to Newcastle and Manchester United is still focused on possibly signing a Premier League proven striker? We've seen already in our first preseason game against West Ham with Cunha, an impressive performance from him. We already know that Bryan Mbeumo is not going to play in the next game either. He's probably going to play against Everton in the final preseason game and as well against Fiorentina at Old Trafford. People are already getting excited about that Premier League proven. So should we go down the route of Ollie Watkins? He's Premier League proven. He can hit the ground running because we need to hit the ground running. We need results because we cannot have a season like last season. We can't even have a season that was similar to last season. Otherwise, we're going to be in big, big trouble. So is Sesko the one? Are we going to sign Sesko or should we sign someone else? Let me know your thoughts about it in the comment section below. Be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe. Welcome to the Transfer View. How is everybody doing? Hope you're all having a good Monday. Yes, Monday, start of the week. I can see people already in the chat. I can see Tabs is in the chat, says, why not a 3-5-2 of Cunha and Mbeumo as split strikers? Javid just says, anyone but Rasmus. Javid also says, good morning. UV fan Ashley's in there, says, good morning. What else? CH says, oh, and how many years have you been saying Benjamin Sesko? It's got to be at least 3, hasn't it? I think it's got to be at least 3, maybe even more. Maybe even more, but I get the point that you're making there. How's the weather? This morning, it's overcast, grey. It's not raining. It's a bit. What's the temperature like? It's 15. It's 15 where I am. 15. Quite humid. Tabra says weather isn't weathering. MA says gloomy in East Manchester. Aminor's going quite scorched earth in the chat, so I can't even get his comment up on the screen. He's just said F the weather. Which is, pretty intense, isn't it? Jumps for goalpost is watching from Portugal. Mild. So Bossman says, sunny in Norwich. Kristen, lovely in Kazakhstan. Kristen always is in Kazakhstan. Always in Kazakhstan. Do you know what it is with that? I always wonder with Kristen, are you actually in Kazakhstan? Or am I just being an idiot? I would love to know. No bullshit. no bullshit. Like, is it genuine? Because that would be amazing. But I don't think it is. I think that's BS. Yeah. Show says the weather stuff is a bit cringe now. Can't lie. All right, let's get rid of him. Get rid of him. Get rid of Show. Get rid of Show. There's sarcasm, and then there's just stepping over the line. Okay, Show. And when it comes to the sarcastic super chats, yeah, that's one thing. Show wakes up and he drips with sarcasm, but we don't do insults here, Show. We don't do insults about the weather. Okay, yeah. Show says he's removing himself. He knows he stepped over the line. He stepped over the line this morning. disgrace. He stepped over the UC Jaskalainen. Amador with the first super chat of the day. He says, not going to lie, I don't want another project striker, i.e. Sesko. Well, we're going to talk about Sesko. We're going to be talking about strikers. And actually, it does play into what we saw over the weekend, doesn't it, with the first game of preseason. Appreciate everyone that tuned in and joined me in the wee hours of the morning as Manchester United won 2-1 against West Ham. Was actually a bit of a fun watch. I actually had quite a good time watching Manchester United. So the last 20 minutes were just incredibly boring and just completely nondescript. We were talking about anything but the football at that point. But did actually enjoy myself watching Manchester United. It was all right. It was all right.
Done okay.
Yeah, I pressed that button quite a bit at the weekend. So yeah, we're going to talk about that. We're going to be talking about Benjamin Sesko. I saw Tab said, stop saying Sesko. I'm going to keep saying it until he ends up signing for Newcastle, which he probably will. But according to Sky Sports in Germany, of course, he plays for RB Leipzig. Benjamin Sesko's camp is in talks with Newcastle. Manchester United cannot yet be ruled out, though. They are still in the race for the striker. Now, a bit more doom and gloom comes from Fabrizio Romano on this story, who says that Newcastle are to make an official bid and are waiting for Benjamin Sesko to see what the player wants to do. But Newcastle will go big on Benjamin Sesko. Let's see what Man United try and do on Sesko, if they want to try for this one or they decide to move on to different targets. So the sort of suggestion is that possibly, Newcastle, because this feels very Isak's leaving, doesn't it? I mean, I don't know if you've seen the developments for that one. Obviously, he's not on their tour. He's asked to leave. Liverpool are selling Luis Diaz now. They're going to sell Darwin Núñez. They're going to get Alexander Isak, which is incredibly frightening, isn't it? That is terrifying that they can add that to their team. So because of that, Newcastle are going to be looking for a replacement. The replacement might be Benjamin Sesko. But what does Sesko want to do? Does he want to go to Newcastle or is he waiting for someone else? Of course, Newcastle do have Champions League football this season. So that could be something that sways the deal. It continues with other reports saying that Benjamin Sesko has an agreement in principle with Newcastle for a contract until 2030. Newcastle are now trying to reach a deal with RB Leipzig, once again suggesting that he's on his way out is Alexander Isak. More reports saying that Manchester United and Newcastle United have both registered their interest in Benjamin Sesko. No negotiations for both of the clubs yet. Benjamin Sesko would rather, take it with a pinch of salt, rather move to Manchester United than Newcastle. There's so many different things to discuss when it comes to this one. If you ask me today, Owen, do you think that Manchester United are going to sign Benjamin Sesko? I'm going to lean towards no. I don't think that one's going to happen. I think, like I said, sometimes with these things, you have to look at the way the dominoes are falling. The way it looks like, certainly, the way the dominoes are going to fall here is we saw yesterday, it was Ornstein and Romano did the whole, here we go. And he's on his, Luis Diaz is on his way to Bayern Munich. So that domino's fallen. So Liverpool have got money in. That allows Liverpool, possibly they're going to sell Darwin Núñez as well. Sell Darwin Núñez. That allows them to go after Alexander Isak. Isak's not on Newcastle's preseason tour. Isak's told Newcastle, I want to leave. And despite the Saudi clubs being interested, it looks like Isak's only going to go to Liverpool, only wants to go to Liverpool. And Liverpool now will have a means of being able to spend even more money than they have this money. They've already spent considerable amount of money, but they'll be able to spend even more money. I mean, think about it. They'll have done, like Florian Wirtz was over £100 million, wasn't it? Ekitike was around €100 million. It's like 90. And if they signed Alexander Isak, I mean, it's going to be 100 at minimum. You would think like £100 million, something like that. So the Isak gets sold, and then they spend that money, not all of it, but they spend some of it on getting Sesko in. And that's just, and it feels like the fact that they're actively negotiating, trying to agree personal terms, is it's almost like this understanding of this is how it's all going to, where the dominoes are going to fall. The reason I don't think we end up getting Sesko is I just don't see how Man United fit into that equation. And, I suppose we could hijack it, but with what money? We're going to talk a little bit about Antony and how Antony could be on his way to Saudi now. The sort of Real Betis stuff has gone really, really quiet. And maybe he ends up going to Al Nassr, even though another sort of,
red flag
in that one is that Al Nassr have just signed João Felix. So how does Antony factor into those plans? We'll have to wait and see, which is a bit worrying, a bit concerning. But I mean, there's just so many things to look at that there, isn't there? There's so many ways to look at that. Like, first of all, I know this isn't Liverpool view, this is United view. But even as a United fan, you've got to say, like, that window is absolutely horrifying. I mean, you can't even do the whole rivals, can't say I'm going to be deluded and not acknowledge. It's kind of weird us even talking about it because we're not even in that stratosphere. Like, we're not even in that universe is just not even close. We're just not even involved in those conversations. I'd love for the day when that Isak stuff happens at Newcastle and we can go like, we could pounce on that because we're great. We've got the money, or we've got the sway, we've got the pull, but we don't have any of those at the moment. And what we've got to do is what Liverpool did sort of a decade ago or so, which is can't really get involved in sort of those big name signings, but you can do smart signings for 30, 40, 50, 60 million. And hopefully they'll develop, you build from there and you become a better team. I.e. when Liverpool signed Mo Salah, they're signing him from Roma. It's not like they were selling the £100 million version of Mo Salah. When they're signing Sadio Mane, they're signing him from Southampton. The same Sadio Mane that when Louis van Gaal wanted him, we scoffed at and we said, from Southampton, we can't get him. And he did very, very well at the club. So we've got to, they're the kind of signings we have to go after. And hopefully we, escalate. We have a better season before it. And then we can get back in the market for bigger and better players. We might not even go back down that route because of the scars of the past of spending that much money and it not being a guarantee to be a success either. So, yeah, I mean, when it comes to Sesko as well, this is kind of what Amnon was saying in his super chat earlier on. I do kind of agree with that. I'm very adverse to, at this point, I don't know. There's always these buzzwords that go around with these signings, but, project striker. I really think it's critical for us at this point to have that, again, Premier League proven. We know what they're about. We know what they can deliver. They've done it in this league. They've done it against the opposition. And I think you saw that at the weekend. I mean, it was only one player of difference, with Matheus Cunha. But like I said, you're not going to get too carried away from one preseason game against West Ham, who for also 70 minutes were really poor, actually, really, really poor. You want to talk about managers who have been there for a little while now, going into their first full season and trying to implement their style. I think Ruben Amorim in that sort of first 70 minutes played Graham Potter like an absolute fiddle at the weekend because Graham Potter's trying to get West Ham to play out from the back. And it's very, very obvious and clear they can't play out from the back at all. They might be worse at playing out from the back than us, which is saying a lot, because sometimes we can be pretty shaky playing out from the back or playing into midfield. They're horrible. Man United absolutely just, utilize that to their best ability. They waited, then put really good pressure on them, press them from the front. Højlund, Bruno, Cunha, and Ugarte, Cobby all did a really calculated and good press and really made West Ham suffer. Probably should have scored more than 2 goals in the game. Højlund hit the post, had a couple of other chances. Bruno missed that one-on-one too. But so you see that and you see just the difference already that someone like Matheus Cunha can make. And you're going, right, we know he's going to, every signing, you never know if they're going to deliver. Every signing is a risk, but you feel like it's a much more calculated risk and the amount of risk is much smaller with these players that we know that we're getting from the Premier League. So you add in already, I think people are doing this sort of fantasy. Add in Brian Mbeumo into that team. Yeah, okay, and Bruno drops a little bit deeper. Ahmad and and Bumo on the right hand side. Yeah. Okay, yeah, I can see that. So for the striker, I know it's a lot of people were saying this, just even in the chat on Saturday, when they were playing those balls in behind for the strikers to run onto, and a couple of times playing it to Højlund's feet, link up play wasn't just totally there. There was this feeling of, I tell you what though, if you did add like an Ollie Watkins into that team, with the way that Cunha and Bruno and Cobby were trying to find the striker there, actually, you know what? That might be okay, you know, or even to a lesser extent. When Xerxes comes back in, I think he'll link up pretty well with those players. We still need a striker. I'm not saying, we've got Xerxes, we don't need one. It's fine, but actually, I can see a bit of that. I mean, Show says the bar is so low. It is. I mean, we finished 15th. It's very low. We've had several seasons of not being able to score goals, and we've had back-to-back seasons of failure, obviously sprinkled in, the FA Cup win and the Europa League final. But on a consistent basis, the bar is very low. Absolutely, it's very low. And it's so low that, we spoke earlier on about Alexander Isak. We can't even enter the chat with those ones. We don't even have the number, let alone enter the chat. So we've got to start somewhere. We can't just overnight. And this is also what I was saying at the weekend too, going into the game. I remember saying to you guys, what are you looking for? What do you expect? And a lot of people were saying, I just maybe want to see some goals. Just want to see some patterns of play, some forward passing. Because I think if your hope is going into these games that it's just going to click, and then suddenly we're playing this amazing attacking football and smashing teams 4 or 5-0, then you're going to be disappointed, because we're not going to do that. You have to build one foot in front of the other, I suppose. So, but it was a start. It was a start of the weekend. As far as the Sesko one, like I said, I just don't know if I see it. I don't know if I see it, and I feel like that report to come out last week about the Manchester United hierarchy have decided that, well, not decided, have sort of conceded that we might not have a striker on the first day of the season against Arsenal. I think that's pretty. I think that's pretty close to the mark. I think that's pretty close to the mark for what it's going to be. I think they'll still try and get. Ollie Watkins. I think they'll still push for that. I think the Garnacho deal is going to play into it, and there's still a lot of time to go. But the Sesko one, I don't know. I don't know. Some super chats here. Amador calling out Show. He's calling out Show. Says, Show, did you see Ugarte performance versus West Ham? Hold that. Amador, you can't. Amador, that is criminal behavior. Don't get me wrong. Ugarte played well. You can't say hold that after a preseason friendly. I mean, no one's ever said hold that after a preseason friendly. We can't.
Oh, sorry.
You just no, Amador, no. I'm all for the Show. Pushing back, but you can't do a hold that after West Ham in a preseason friendly. These are the perfect preseason friendlies for us, by the way, because we're not playing Real Madrid, or we're not playing Arsenal like we have in recent years, or some really big teams, top teams. We're playing the teams that were in and around us last season that we still weren't beating, by the way. But this is exactly the kind of preseason games that we have. So yeah, we can't do the hold that. I think we can do the good win, played some good stuff for 70 minutes. It's probably one of the better performances we've actually seen under Ruben Amorim. Doesn't say that much, but yeah, we can't be holding that. Shane says, what are your thoughts on pushing for a midfielder instead of a 9, as it's clearly not our top target? Would rather a proper midfielder that we need instead of our 4th/5th choice striker. You know what it is? The striker, the fact that we're even having discussions about a striker again just goes to show how awful our recruitment has been over the last however many years. Because we've done we need a striker we did it last summer. We need a striker, signed Joshua Xerxes. We did it the season before that. We need a striker, signed Rasmus Højlund. season before that, even though we were signing all those people, it was like, do we need a striker? And Ten Hag went, I'm going to go with Anthony Martial as my striker. You know, we've been doing it for years. Even the summer before that, you know, about the we need a striker. We've signed Ronaldo. We've got a striker. You know, we've been for the last 4 or whatever summers, we've been having the discussion of we need to sign a striker. Should we sign a striker? Which striker should we sign? And in the last 2 seasons, we have signed a striker, and we still need a striker because our recruitment's been so bad. As far as getting the midfielder, I do totally understand what you're saying because, as we've said multiple times, the sort of technical ceiling of this team is absolutely on the floor. And the inability, and we did see this still at the weekend, the inability sometimes to pass the ball or link up 2 or 3 passes in this team is like pulling teeth. In the first half, we were much more direct, and I think that was by design, and a lot more knock the ball forward, run onto it. But a couple of times we did try and, you know, play in the middle of the pitch. We sometimes just can't do it. Sometimes can't do it. A couple of nice moments. You see like Kobe make some nice touches. Ugarte, of course, had his moment, won the ball back through the legs of the midfielder, and that would have led to an Ahmad goal, but he was offside. It was very close. I would have been interested to see how VAR would have called that. But if we had that extra technical midfielder in the middle, it would absolutely make a difference. I do just wonder what that's going to look like just in general with the midfield under Ruben Amorim, because he kind of did say this in his pre and post match comments that you look at you look at all, we've only got 1 game a week. You've only got 1 game a week, and how are you going to fit some of these players in? Now, I don't have a problem. I think it was quite actually exposed that our strength and depth is not that great by evidence of bringing those players on with 20 minutes to go, and we looked far, far worse. But, you know, Kobe played in midfield in the deeper role at the weekend when previously it's been about, is he a 10? Isn't he a 10? Ruben was sort of suggesting in his press conference that maybe he's got to improve to become an 8, but he had a good game. You've then got Ugarte. You had Casemiro on the bench. You had Mason Mount. I think he came on and played in the 10, but he could play a little bit deeper. Bruno, once Bryan Mbeumo starts playing games, will be playing deeper. Amorim said that he prefers him there in his press conference. So considering you only play 2 in there, it's going to be, if you then sign another midfielder, then I would be interested to know what happens to someone else in there and what happens to their game time. I agree that we need, obviously, much better technical ability there. If we can find that player, you know, whether it's that Valencia midfielder, whether it's someone else that has the ability to do 2 things, win the ball back and pass the ball, it is crazy that we're still having to we've got players that can only do 1 thing. You know, we've got players that can only do 1 thing. Like Ugarte, he can win the ball back. He's very good at winning the ball back. He can't really pass it, but he's good at winning the ball back. Then you've got other people in there, like let's say Bruno's in there. Yeah, Bruno, maybe good at moving the ball forward and creating and that, but you know, win the ball back, maybe. And Bruno was Bruno in, by the way, on Saturday, because in the first half in particular, he gave the ball away like at least 4 or 5 times with madness. And I just, it was frustrating, but he still scores 2 goals. That's what Bruno Fernandes does. Could have scored a hat-trick in the game. So I get your point about we haven't been able to get the striker we wanted this summer, i.e. it was Liam Delap, wasn't it? So maybe we should just get the midfielder, and then we can come back to it in January or in the summer, go after a midfielder because it's more needed. Perhaps. Tabrez says, I honestly feel we're going in the right direction. It's a slow process, but signing big name superstars got us nowhere. Piece by piece, we'll be back. Do you know what I thought was actually one of the most sort of significant things at the weekend as well? Wasn't just obviously the inclusion of Mateus Cunha, and obviously Bryan Mbeumo was with the squad. He didn't play. He wasn't involved in the squad. He's not going to be playing on Wednesday. Possibly will be playing at the weekend. But one of the biggest things that I sort of noticed was the difference. And while it did, I'm not going to say the KG, it feels different. But what did feel like a slight change is it did feel like a bit of a different United, just with this, like, we're starting a new season, started a pre-season, and there is no Rashford. There was no Garnacho. Obviously, no Antony, no Sancho, no Malacia. And I know a lot of those players haven't been around for a while anyway. But I did just sort of, during the game, I was sort of taking a step back going, that is I mean, still technically a lot of them are Man United players. I mean, technically all of them are. But so we'll wait and see about the exits. But the fact that they're not included and they're not part of that group, I just think, well, that is quite significant. That does make it feel like it's a different era, or this is very much a new team or very much a newer squad with those exits of those players. The problem is we haven't sold them. They're still under contract, But I can't really explain it, by saying that does feel a little bit like, okay, well, I can see what they're trying to do there, trying to move those players on, but you can't give them the full credit because they haven't been moved on yet, Rashford has been moved on to an extent for a season, and he'll go at the end of next season. Whether it's to Barca or not, I don't know. Those players, despite what Ruben's saying in the press conference last week, they won't be reintegrated. I think it's just the opposite of what they were doing towards the end of last season, which is, well, kick them out at all costs. And now it's like, well, actually, we do need to sort of say they could come back in. Otherwise, we've got no position to negotiate. I mean, Ruben literally said they've all got numbers, i.e. they've all got price tags on their head, and we're struggling to meet those. So, we've got to try and meet those numbers. So, it felt a little bit, but I'm not going to get too carried away. Jammy Jam Jars, that's a very Jammy Jam Jar, says United are not in the position to go get the likes of Sesko yet. I need to build a solid foundation of Premier League proven players for a couple of years. I do sort of, agree that I'm not really on the Sesko bandwagon, not because he won't be good or because he'll be a flop. I just think we're not in that position to take that kind of risk at the moment, whereas other clubs would be. So if he goes to Newcastle and it doesn't work out initially, they've still got other players in that team that will score goals, that will do well. They're a much better, well-oiled machine, better team, better unit. They're just settled. We're just not in the position to be. You always roll the dice with the transfer. We're just not in the position to be rolling it that much. So I think we're kind of just like, how can we minimize the biggest amount of risk possible with some of the signings that we're going to make? And the decision, I think, has been, well, we just got to know what we're getting. We've seen Cunha, we've seen Mbumo week in, week out in the Prem. Plus, they want to come to the club. There was nobody else for them. Other people were interested, yes, but it was, I only want to go to Manchester United. So that's a tick. I think that's what they're looking for in the market. We've got over 1,300 people watching, which is fantastic. We're over 300 likes. So if you haven't already, click the like button and be sure to subscribe as well. As you can see in the top right-hand corner there, getting closer to 198,000 on that road to 200K. There's also going to be loads of content coming out over the next 24, 48 hours. We've got, right after this show, you'll be redirected to a Flex and KG video out there in the US. They are now already in Chicago ahead of the game on Wednesday. So that's going to be taking place on Wednesday. And ahead of that, we're going to have collaborations. We're going to have some special interviews. We're going to have Flex and KG shows. That's all coming ahead of Wednesday. What else? Oh, and tonight, I'm going to try and do an episode of the Red Carpet. Obviously, there won't be any Flex, KG, and James because they're out there in the US. But we'll see if we can round up some names and get some people on to have some discussion about Manchester United. So it's all going off here at United View. Yes, it's all going off. Big up DJ in the chat, says, Owen, please shout out my young person, Danny. Shout out young person, Danny. Maybe it's just Danny, but I'm going to go with young person, Danny. Big up DJ as well. Always involved, always in the chat. Part of the UV family. Shout out to Danny. Hope you're doing well. Hope you're having a good Monday. And if you're a young person, probably means you're off school, right? Summer holidays at the moment, I think. I think it's summer holidays. When you grow up, they don't mean anything to you, do they? The only reason summer holidays, you just suddenly start seeing a lot more kids around. You go, what's going on? Why aren't they in school? Tommy says the game on Wednesday is being shown on Sky TV. Yes, a lot of people were sort of confused by that because obviously usually the preseason friendlies are shown on MUTV, but because this is the Premier League Summer Series, Premier League Sky, they're being shown on Sky, which is good. It makes it more watchable for a lot of people. I did see there was. Don't get me wrong. I'm all for the world is against us. The world is trying to get at us, and the way the media covers Manchester United and what have you. But I did see there was a bit of outrage on social media because they were showing the signings that we've made this summer, obviously in Cunha and Mbumo, and they were showing it in dollars. They were saying, for instance, we signed Brian Mbumo for like $90 million or something like that. And people were going, typical. When it comes to United, they're doing, they're putting it in another currency to make it higher and doing all the add-ons. Look what they're doing. And I went, I'm with you. But in fairness, it was the US broadcast feed. It was on NBC and NBC Sports and Peacock. So it was actually for an American audience. That's why it was in dollars. It wasn't that. I mean, I'm with you when it comes to sometimes it's in euros, sometimes it's in pounds, sometimes they include the add-ons, sometimes they, with other clubs they don't, and what have you. But that one was just because it was on the US broadcaster. Because I saw a lot of people going, it's disgraceful. It's like, well, actually, it wasn't that bad, but still,
disgraceful, absolutely disgraceful.
That's right, Kenny. Speaking of exits. Speaking of, I don't want to call them the Bomb Squad because I think that's just the worst name. It's like the most cringe name ever. I'm going to go with still the Exiled 4. They were the Exiled 5, but now they're the Exiled 4, one of which is Antony. Now, Antony could be on his way to Saudi Arabia, could be on his way to Al Nassr. There was a report yesterday from Santi Una saying that Al Nassr had sent a bid to Manchester United for Antony. Of course, this comes after a move to Real Betis has gone quite quiet, actually, because they were looking for a loan bid or something like that. Another report said that Al Nassr, Cristiano Ronaldo, and Jorge Jesus' team are interested in signing Antony. Al Nassr have signaled a purchase offer for the player, but has competition from European teams. Manchester United have asked for £50 million. Now, don't get me wrong. If we got £50 million for Antony, I would go, look, Omar, Jason, people have talked some shit about the inability to sell players. If you can get 50 million for Antony, I think I've already committed to a hot chip if Donnarumma signs for us this summer, so I'm not going to do another one. Don't really see that happening. don't really see that one happening. £50 million. I think we worked this out at the weekend, didn't we? Antony's book value. I think his book value was around like £35 million. There you go. His current book value, according to just this search that I've done, is around £34.2 million. So we were saying before, actually, just get like 35 million. You get about 35 billion, maybe 40, maybe, but not 50. You won't. I mean, João Felix, they just bought him for, is it like around 40? I mean, this is when people are right about the Chelsea thing. You know, I know people said, if Chelsea would have been able to sell Marcus Rashford, look, maybe they would. Maybe they would have been able to pull that off. But when it comes to João Felix, they bought him rather for was it around 40 odd million, wasn't it? Around 40 million, I think it was. 44.5 million pounds is what they signed him for. Now, with a year later, after he hasn't played for a year, they're selling him to Saudi for pretty much the same price. Pretty much. And they are not beating those allegations of, well, the Saudi PIF is a minority investor in Clearlake, which owns Chelsea. So what's the relationship there? Like, what's going on with that one? They are not beating those allegations, are they? Because that's ridiculous business a year later. So with whether or not this Antony thing is true, I mean, it makes you wonder with the João Felix thing now, because he's on his way to Saudi, on his way specifically to Al Nassr. Does that mean the Antony thing isn't happening now? Does that mean that they've just spent close to £50 million on an attacking player, so they're not after Antony anymore? I don't know. I'm not sure. You could, to be fair, when it does come to Antony, you could absolutely say that he's done more in the last 12 months than João Felix has. He's done nothing, literally nothing. Was barely involved at all. Antony's second half of the season went out on loan and actually did very well. So, you know, and as Lil Yo-Yo says, Antony's agent did confirm interest. There were other reports saying that he now was interested in the move to Saudi. Because like I said, I think the sort of Real Betis thing has kind of fallen apart. He initially wanted to go back to Real Betis. He's got an affinity with the club, and obviously he's got affinity with the fans because he did well there, and the fans really took to him, and it was really a time which obviously wasn't playing at United, and he was out of form, and he was a proper, like, he was a laughing stock here in England because of this price tag and the spin and the celebration, the tiger, and all of this stuff. Goes to Real Betis, scores goals, gets assists, gets his team to a European final. They qualify for, was it the Champions League they got into at the end? Or was it Europa League? I forget. But still, they have a very good second half of the season. So he wanted to make that happen, but they didn't have the money. They didn't have the money to make that happen. And Manchester United, rightfully so, aren't interested in this. Well, you can take him back out on loan again. It's like, no, with the Rashford one, as much as people got outraged by it, I do think that it was still a good deal for United, because I just think there was no way he was going to leave on a permanent. He wanted to go to, the only place he wanted to go was Barcelona. He's even said that now. I only wanted to go to Barca. I wanted to go there in December, but it wasn't possible. So I went out on loan to Villa for 6 months, keep myself playing, then go to Barca. They've got a buy option and they're covering all of his wages. He took a pay cut. Manchester United saved money. That's as good as it's going to get, I think, for Marcus Rashford. With the Antony one, I think he did enough in his loan spell to get a permanent move. If Real Betis could find the money, if they can't, got to go elsewhere. Can't be doing all of these loans just out to all of these different places. So with his agent now coming out and saying that, he's interested in Saudi, because I don't think it would affect his international standing either. He's actually got back into the Brazil squad because of his performances. Not that that's that hard, because it's not the Brazil squad of the mid-2000s, the 90s, the 70s, or what have you. You think of those famous Brazil squads, it is not that anymore. Still some very good players, obviously, in that team, including Manchester United's Matheus Cunha, including the likes of Vini Jr., Alisson, Marquinhos, of course, won the Champions League with PSG, but it's not, it's not Ronaldo, Rivaldo, Ronaldinho, etc. Cafu. It's not that. It's not that. And Casemiro is getting back into the Brazil team now because Don Carlo's the manager. So you feel like with Antony, if he goes and has a full season of playing in the Saudi league, that'd probably be enough for him to get in the Brazil World Cup squad, which is what he wants to do. So and also he get paid a shitload of money if he goes to Saudi. It's not like he'd be going there for free or anything. He'd do very well for himself in terms of finances. Although I suppose whether or not he would adapt to it is up for debate, because quite a few of those big name signings have gone to Saudi and not adapted to it. They leave about a year later or 2 years later or so. Look at John Duran. He was only there for, like 6 months, if that. Now he's in Turkey. And I think that's because of the sort of living arrangements there. A lot of people don't actually live in Saudi. They live in Bahrain. So some people can adapt, some people can't. But the money's very good. And like I said, I don't think it'll affect his international standing. So if Al Nassr want to pay a similar amount to João Felix for Antony, I say 35 million plus. Cover the book value, and anything else is a bonus. And anything else is a bonus. Let's call it an even 40. Let's call it an even 40. Get it done. 50. If Man United are waiting for £50 million, we're not going to sell Antony dos Santos this summer. Never. Who is going to pay £50 million? I mean, we were the idiots that paid €100 million, 80 odd million quid. It was 86 million pounds. We just try to save, probably just try to save a little bit of face of Oh, I tell you what, I know they bought him for a lot of money, but £50 million, that's not bad. It's not bad. It's pretty impressive. No, I don't think that's going to happen. No. What is going to happen, though, folks, is we're going to hit 500 likes. We've got close to 1,400 people watching. We're less than 20 likes away from 400 likes. If you haven't already, click the like button. Let's see if we can get it up to 500 for a solo-in show in the Asylum. This isn't the proper Asylum. Amanor says, can you get Marcel, Cam, and Aaron on the red carpet tonight? I will try and get people on. Like I said, it won't be Flex, KD, and James. If everyone's available, it would be myself, it would be Marcel, it would be Minna, it would be Alice. And am I missing anyone? Oh, and Dev. That would be 5. But I might ask 1 or 2 extras. We'll see. We'll see availability. Tabrez says, instead of signing Belieber, sign the player Brighton will replace him with. Insert role safe meme here. Well, look, the problem is, Tabrez, is Brighton have probably already signed him. We just don't know about it yet. That's how quickly and how much they move. Brighton, they've signed all of those replacements already. They signed them probably a couple of years ago. They're just out on loan somewhere. We don't even really know because we don't really pay that much attention to people that Brighton sign. But it's just ridiculous. The way that they operate is so scary. And you know what's even more impressive, actually, about how Brighton operate is no one can really replicate it. No one can really replicate. Everyone tries to do that kind of like, oh, yeah, we could be like Brighton. But something about Tony Bloom or his people. But yeah, the way they operate in the market is ridiculous. And also, like the amount of money they make on players is incredible, isn't it? We look at Chelsea over the last however many years, the amount of money they spent on Brighton players alone. You think, imagine Brighton kept them. Imagine Brighton kept some of those players. How good would they be at this point? And they're still good. They're still good. A young manager. They just know everything. They get it exactly right, don't they? Absolutely. We're 80 likes away from 500 likes, folks. If you haven't already, click the like button. I'm going to cheer you guys up this morning. I am. It's Monday. I wanted to give you guys some positivity. I don't want to give you guys doom and gloom. I see Show in the chat. He's a sarcastic Show. And I know that after the performance of the weekend, people are a bit more optimistic. People feel a bit better. People go, well, actually, maybe we could cause Arsenal some problems on the first game of the season. Yeah. Well, we don't have to worry about conceding goals because Andre Onana could be back, folks. Yes. I can hear the cheers. Yeah, I can hear the cheers. Yeah. I can. If you just listen faintly, you can hear the cheers. They do sound a bit sort of like. Cheers sound a bit weird, don't they? This morning, don't really. That's a bit weird. But Onana's back. We're not gonna be conceding goals. Liar! I didn't. Well, you don't know that. So, Laurie Whitwell on the Talk of the Devils podcast has said that he was told, or he said, quote, I was told previously, he, being Andre Onana, was hoping to be fit for the Arsenal game. So Arsenal, that's the, big game. First game of the season, Old Trafford. Onana's going to be back. So forget about signing the goalkeeper, actually, because we've already got one, mate. We've already got one. If you're wondering what Flex is going to be doing outside Old Trafford after the first game of the season, most likely...
He's crying in his car!
Yeah. Do you know what I saw? I forget who it was in the comments earlier today. This is how bad it's got, folks. This is how bad it's got. Someone was saying, well, actually, it's not going to be too bad because if we press how we were pressing, this is real. If we press how we were pressing against West Ham in that preseason game, and if we've got Cunha and Mbumo scoring goals, it will put less pressure on Onana and we'll concede sort of less shots, so it won't be as bad. And I just thought to myself, that's where we've got to. That's where we've got to. We can't afford to replace. We're going, well, we can't get rid and replace. He doesn't want to go. So we've just got to ensure that basically Arsenal don't attack or Arsenal don't have shots. Then we'll be okay. We've got to ensure that our goalkeeper doesn't have to do his job. Because if we find a way that he doesn't have to do his job, we might win. And I was like, oh, literally, I thought that.
Why are you the way that you are? Honestly, every time I try to do something fun or exciting, you make it not that way. I hate so much about the things that you choose to be.
Honestly. Look, please, Man United, please. I'm begging you now, right? This isn't, no one's watching. Right? There's 1,300 people aren't here with less than 50 likes to go till 500. Please, sign a goalkeeper. Doesn't have to be expensive. Doesn't have to be 20, 25, 30 million pounds, 50, 60. Doesn't have to be like that. Can be a light 15, even a 10. No problem. Doesn't have to be, in his prime. Can be an old guy, mid-30s. No problem. Just please sign someone that can save the ball. That's all I care about. Forget this distribution myth. That's what we signed Andre Onana for. And actually, it's just that, a myth. It's not that far away from David De Gea passing range, to be honest, which is kick it up the pitch. Sometimes he'll go out for a throw-in. Just sign a goalkeeper that can make saves. Please. 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 I would offer buy services, but I'm pretty sure if I do one more dive now, I'd probably break my hip. So please. Go get a goalkeeper. There is still time. Onana, you might suffer a setback and then, buy. And we're not doing the buy and dear thing, okay? We're not doing the buy and... Oh, well, you got buy and dear. No. Buy and dear can go back to Turkey, sell him. Even if we don't, find a goalkeeper. They're out there. Please. No. I don't want to get, desperate here and get down on my knees and start begging. But I feel like I'm like a week or two away. In all honesty, I feel like I'm about a week or two away. So please, Manchester United, sign a goalkeeper. Because we're going to get to a point when, it's going to be, it's a race to be back in time. It's going to be a race to be back. And then he's going to make it back for the Arsenal game. And they're going to try and treat that like a win. Like, Onana's back. You'd be like, who gives a shit? Who gives a shit that he's back? It should be someone else. So go find, whether it is, was it Lemens from Antwerp or whoever. Open up Football Manager. Just go search goalkeepers and just pick one. Anyone. Do it like we used to be, was it National Service or whatever? Just put a load of names in a tumbler and pick one out. Anyone of the public. Just pull it out. Go, and you open it up and you go, Show Rahman, you're playing in goal for Manchester United. You go, well, it's better than Onana. Bring him in, or opens it up. Just goes, it's Terence Pace. You're playing for Manchester United against Arsenal. Right, bring him in. Better than Onana. Open it up. Just Josh Media Graphics Guru Vision Ninja. You play, well, probably not him. Probably not him. I feel like there might be conflict. Might be conflict of interest there. I don't think maybe not him. Probably not. Yeah, he can't be trusted. KG the comedian. I go. That was a test one. That was to put that back in. That was a test one. Put that one back in. Go again. Go again. Maybe. I think that Marcel. Would you take Marcel in goal instead of Andre? That is, I tell you what, that's a tough one. Marcelo Andre Onana. What are you guys saying about that in the chat? He's not that tall. I think he's got energy. He's got positivity. I don't think we can. He might not even be able to get into the stadium. The guy gets ID'd still when trying to buy alcohol. He's the same age as me. You know what I mean? I think when I went out with Marcel before, we went to watch KG do his stand-up. I think they thought like I was like his stepdad or something like that. Trying to get alcohol with your son, same age. You're saying I'm old or he's young? I don't know. Yeah, probably not. Probably. That's also very true. We wouldn't be there on time. So yeah, that's the no, we can't. We can't. We can't do that. Yeah, no, we can't. Terrence of the Super Chat says, guess what, Owen? What, Terrence? What if we prioritize finding a reliable goalkeeper for the first team instead of other positions? Because I would rather trust Matt Murdoch in goal. Well, for those not aware, Matt Murdoch is Daredevil. I've let out a secret, and he's also blind. But I would trust Matt Murdoch in goal, Terrence. He can fight crime. He can fight crime despite the fact that he's blind. Have you seen him? Despite being blind, he can basically see. Just it's not in the same way as everyone else. He's got great. He can hear a heartbeat down the block and round the corner. Hear how someone's heart beating. Do you think he'd have any trouble in goal? Not a problem. No issue. You know what I mean? He'd probably be the best goalkeeper in the league. And he'd probably have to just miss a couple just to try and not have everyone going like, is he really blind? Like, what's going on there? But I feel like he's got more pressing concerns in Hell's Kitchen than Old Trafford, maybe. But you never know. Ineos could look. They could have a look. They could have a look. So yes, it's a bit of a detour, wasn't it? There you go, folks. That is the transfer view for you this morning. Be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe. Where do we end up at in terms of likes? We're 14 away, just 14 away from 500 likes. So if you haven't already, click that like button and be sure to subscribe. What's on tap for the rest of the day? Well, I'll tell you. We've got red carpet. Well, the plan, anyway, is to do red carpet at 7 p.m. I'll try and round up some people. Even if we can't get the people, I'll just do something at 7. There might not even be. We'll have more discussions about who can go and goal for Manchester United. But we'll get a red carpet on. There's going to be a video coming up from Flex and KG after this. You'll be redirected, so you won't have to go anywhere. There's going to be more content coming from Flex and KG as well, stateside, now that they're in Chicago. Or as when CM Punk comes to the ring, from Chicago, Illinois. So they're going to be doing a lot of content from there, a lot of collabs, interviews, vlogs. And actually, I believe, speaking of the vlogs, tonight, possibly after the red carpet, there is going to be a New York, New Jersey mega vlog coming out from KG, that comedian, and Mr. Jurgen Fleck. And by all accounts, it's very long. It's a cinematic masterpiece. I've been reliably informed from Just Josh Media Graphics Guru Visual Ninja. So be sure to check that out. So it's going to be a busy day, folks. So if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe. Click that notification bell. You'll be notified when we go live. And you never know. I might be back if there's any breaking news. It probably won't be. But you never know. You never know. There could be. Possibly. Maybe. Big up to everyone for hitting the like button. We hit over 500 likes. And we'll be back later on with more content. I'm out of it. Have a good Monday. Peace.